All right, joining us now from his bunker somewhere, it's Dan Armbruster, lead singer of the band Joywave. Dan, thank you so much for joining us on our Perseverance Rock special here on Third Rock Radio.
Thank you for having me.
You are, from what I understand, a huge space fan, a big NASA fan. And tell me if this is the case. Now, for the launch of the DM2 mission, which happened, I think it was May 30th. Now, we here at Third Rock, we did a live broadcast celebrating the launch. Now, I heard that you did your own kind of broadcast talking about the launch of the Launch America DM2. Is that the case?
That is in fact the case. The band Bastille, close friends of ours, our bands went on tour together back in the before times, and they're all British, so their opinions on NASA and launches don't count unless they bring me in as a tax-paying American citizen. So. They had to have me on, and I was very excited. But they're big NASA fans. I'm a big NASA fan. So we watched the launch together. It was great.
That's awesome. Now you were kind of brought in as a consultant to kind of walk them through what was going on.
Of course, of course. The accent-free resident on the call. It was amazing, and it was such a good time being on tour with them because when we played Houston, they went and took the NASA tour and loved it, and I've done it a few times at Johnson, but he would give me hell on stage every night. I would come out and do a song with them, and he'd pick something and go after me for the day. And on that day in particular, I was like, "What has your country ever done?" He has on like a NASA shirt. I was like, "Where's your British Space Agency shirt, man?"
Oh wait, I don't know if there is one or not.
Oh, I don't think they've ever done anything. Yeah, so that was an amazing moment. That was actually my favorite moment of the tour. It was a proud America moment for me, and I literally dropped the mic and yelled America, and the whole crowd cheered. So it was great to be in Texas for that moment.
Well, how did you get so into space? I mean, has it always been? Did you ever want to be an astronaut, or what got you into it?
I did, yeah. I'm delusional. So my life went from when I was 5, I wanted to be an astronaut. Then I wanted to be a professional hockey player, which I should tell you I cannot ice skate. And then I moved on to rock star. So my life is one confused go for it moment. But when I learned that there was not oxygen in space as a child, my parents were like, you can suffocate, right? And I'm not a very brave person, so I was out.
Well, that's some pretty lofty goals there. I mean, astronaut, hockey player, for someone who doesn't ice skate. I mean, come on.
Right? All astronomical things to go for. But I then in college, I was a history major, and basically, I worked it out so every single class I was writing a paper on the space program. Whether it was like I took this Soviet history course and I wrote a lot about the Russian efforts to put a man on the moon, and the space race in general, like Project Paperclip and the early NASA stuff. All sorts of things. So I just made it so I could just research the one thing I was really, really interested in history, and it counted for all of it.
And your professor was like, "Oh, here comes another Dan paper. I know what this is going to be."
Well, I had all different professors for the classes, right? And in college, they're not really comparing notes or being like, "Is he writing about space in your class as well?" So that was great.
Well, we have the Perseverance launch. The rover launch is happening very, very soon. Have you been following the story of Perseverance? Have you been keeping up with what's going to be happening?
I have not. I am much more well versed in the history of space exploration than what is happening right now. I mean, my crash course on now has been the 2 visits over the past couple of years to Johnson, where they've kind of showed me some of the stuff that's been going on. So the DM2 launch was super exciting for me because first time having manned space exploration since 2011. But Perseverance, is it a Mars rover?
Yes. It's going to be heading to Mars. It was slated to happen on July 22nd. Excuse me. They have moved the date. It looks like it's going to happen on the 30th, and it's going to be traveling for 7 months. It's going to be up there joining Curiosity, which is already roving around up there on. But the Perseverance rover, one of the things that's kind of exciting, it's going to have an actual helicopter attached to it, and the helicopter is going to try to fly around, and we're going to see if we can navigate in, I guess, Martian atmosphere.
Yeah. Wow. That's fascinating. One of the things I looked this up very, very briefly the other day, but just kind of, I was like, well, what happens? I had studied all up on what happens through the moon landing, basically, with the Russian space program. But after they give up on the N-1 rocket, like what do they do? And the answer is they start trying to send probes to Mars, and they all fail within 1 second, like the first 3. And there's like one image that you can look up that they sent back, and it's basically just static, and it was the only thing that made it to the 1 second mark. And I mean, it was just insane. But the 70s, and I can't imagine the effort that all those people put into that to have them all fail at the 1 second mark. It's insane. Yeah. And these ones, they got there, and they would like burn up in the, so they'd make the 7-month trek, and then at the last second, it's like, oh my God. That must have been maddening.
Well, Perseverance it's a pretty big deal because it's going to be kind of a launching pad because, of course, in 2024, we're planning to go back to the moon, and then that's going to be the jump off to go, hopefully, to Mars with the Artemis mission and all that stuff. So Perseverance is going to be pretty exciting.
I'm excited to see what they're able to find. And I remember when I was a kid, all the Pathfinder images coming back, and that being so exciting.
Well, let me ask you this. You mentioned it takes 7 months for Perseverance to get up to Mars. If you were on board, what would you be doing for those 7 months? How would you pass time?
Holding my breath. I don't know. I don't mind alone time. As an artist, being alone with your thoughts is kind of how you arrive at ideas or what I want to do next. So I would probably be writing a lot, but 7 months in a row is, we might be in Walden territory there. I don't know if I want to do that.
Well, we're on the phone, actually on Skype. My first Skype call ever is with Dan Armbruster of the band Joywave.
Also, my first Skype call in a year. It's good. It's good to be back. I'd like to shout out Skype. Thank you for having us today.
Thank you, Skype. Thanks for helping us out with this. Of course, you're a big space fan, but let's talk about the new album from Joywave, Possession. It's a fantastic album, so congratulations on it.
Thank you.
And the thing that strikes me about this album is there are some, I don't want to say political, but there's some hints of current events in there. But from listening to it several times, I get the impression that you're kind of saying, and I hate to use the cliche, but we're all together. We're all in this together. Just everyone kind of chill
Correct.
out. Is that the vibe? Am I?
Absolutely. And good for you, because so many people hear little moments on the record and they're like, he's protesting against the wall. He doesn't like this. And I'm like, no, I don't actually like any of it. I want everyone to stop focusing on the micro things that everyone's upset about every day and look at the macro. And, it's insane. And it's hard to focus on your own life or the really small things, right? It's like I have a hard time picking what's for dinner when I feel like I'm drowning when I walk by the TV. And I'm really glad to talk to you about the new record because so much of it is another thing that people will say is like, well, there's a lot of space stuff on here. Do you like the space? And it's like, I do, but that's not really what it's about. It's about that perspective of zooming out and looking back at the pale blue dot and saying, wow, in the grand scheme of everything, I am very small, my problems are very small, and Earth's problems are very small. And if you have that perspective, I think that's where you're able to go, okay, well, we really are all in this together on this tiny little dot.
Yeah, and I mean, this is y'all's third album, and the vibe of Joywave since the beginning, in my opinion, you've always said it's been kind of lighthearted in terms of just the sonic, the feel of it. It's fun music, and I mean, even though like on songs like like a Kennedy, you hit on like the wall and stuff like that. I got it, but I just kind of get that I'm just like, everyone just chill out. We're gonna be cool. Everything's gonna be good. Okay, and also, Dan, you and you touched on it a second ago, but you produced this record, and I wanted to ask you about something that you did that was kind of spacey. You added some elements from a space background that I wanted to talk to you about. Do you know where I'm going with this?
I do, and I want you to take it away.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, Dan produced this record, and he used little snippets from the Voyager Golden record. If you're not familiar with that, that was the record that was on the Voyager program. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 that it was on. I think 1.
I think it's on both.
Oh, is it on both?
I think it's the Golden record, but there's 2 copies, I believe.
Okay, well, the Golden record was sent out to space. It's now like, it's got to be billions of miles away right now.
Yeah, like 15 billion, I think.
And it's got snippets and songs and sounds from Earth, just in case a foreign, an extraterrestrial, somebody finds it, they'll know what we're about and that we're friendly and all that stuff.
Correct. And the moment it's kind of taken into account, I think about Apollo 8 in 1968, their Christmas Eve message, right, where all these terrible things have happened on the Earth that year. Bobby Kennedy's assassinated. Martin Luther King Jr. is assassinated. Yeah, Vietnam is raging, right? Everything feels terrible. And the astronauts on Apollo 8 are the only ones who have that perspective of like, wow, okay, out this window is Earth, and out the other window is infinity. And, we really need to come together. So they deliver this message where they read a passage from the book of Genesis in the Bible, very serene passage about the creation of the heavens and the earth. And at the end, they say, good night to all the good people on the good earth. And I wanted a little bit of that, right? And Voyager's perspective is even further out. And if I can share what's on that record from 15 billion miles away with people now, I think that's special, and that's the perspective that I want to have, to zoom out and see the big picture.
Well, it was a very cool touch, and when I read that you had done that, I was like, wow, because I just now that you're coming on our station, I was like, this is perfect. This is a perfect time. But how did that idea come about? Was it just kind of in your mind for a while, or?
Yeah, it was just kind of something that I discovered, and I was like, this is really cool. I didn't know a ton about the Golden Record before, so it was a great exploration for me to go through it, and it's on the JPL's website. People can go through and actually hear. You can download all the waves from there and hear what's on the record. And obviously, I couldn't use music that's on it, and the copywritten music that's on it is not available on the JPL's website, but the greetings are in every single language that Carl Sagan recorded. There's a greeting from, I think there's like 5 languages missing where he couldn't find somebody in Ithaca, New York to record them. But yeah, it's a fascinating thing to think about. How do I take all of human history, encapsulated in audio, and send it out there and hope that, how do you sum up multiple civilizations over all this time in 30 minutes of audio?
So when you listen to Possession, make sure you pay special attention to excuse me, going into the song Coming Apart, you hear is it Japanese, that intro that the lady sang? Or?
It's Korean, and it's kind of coming out of it comes right out of the song Like a Kennedy, which is the one that's very much, the last line is, I just want to be fat and old and happy, and everything else in the song is current events. So that moment kind of takes this breath at the end. There's the gap, and you hear in Korean, hello, how are you, which is obviously a friendly greeting, but the news cycle at that time was very much North Korea has nuclear weapons and we're all going to die and everything's terrible. So it was kind of putting that fear and with the positive message of that, where it's like, it's completely unfounded, you know what I mean? And going into Coming Apart, which is a little bit of millennial doomsdayism, but buying into it for a second to emerge on the other side.
I think Coming Apart's my favorite song on the record.
It's a great pick.
Yeah, that one. Blast Off, of course, another one where you can hear some Golden Record stuff in there.
Yep.
But let me ask you this. So the album came out, I want to say it was in March, rave reviews across the board. You guys are about to hit the road, and then boom, everything stops.
Boom, here we are.
Yeah, everything stops. And I was just curious, from a band perspective, I mean, what has it been like? Because you guys are a working band. I mean, how have you guys dealt with the stoppage and everything going on?
So we've been gone probably 180 to 200 days a year since late 2013, early 2014. So we're really used to the start and stop thing now. You have a little bit of time at home. You go for a while, you come back, you have a little bit of time at home. I was happy to have the time at home for a second. When they started like closing the borders and stuff, we were in Europe on tour, and we were able to get back in a few days before they actually did close the borders. But it really makes me appreciate the stability of the before times, and not to harp on the like we're all in this together thing, or that it's not as bad as it seems, but think about how furious everyone has been for, even the past 5 years, right? Everything's terrible all the time. And you realize how great it actually was. Like, we were in this period of stability where our band could go on tour unthreatened, right? Like constantly. And now you think about how stable the world needs to be for a live concert to happen. You have to be free of disease, free of war, free of all these pitfalls. And now we obviously can't do that, because in order to route a tour, you need to be able to play all these cities that are like 5 or 6 hours apart. You need to go one to the next to be able for the budgets to line up and the economics to make sense. So all of that's out the window. It's like, if I can't go play in Houston right now, we can't go on tour. We can't actually present this record to the country. So that's been kind of a tough pill to swallow, and that's where I get a little bit bummed out, and the other guys doing the band, when they see people not taking the mask thing seriously, or not taking the mask mandate seriously, or playing politics with it. And a lot of people have been furloughed, a lot of people are out of work, but I think that people who are in the live music or live entertainment business will probably be the last ones back to work. Everything has to be working really well before 1,000 people can be next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, screaming.
Yeah. And I was going to ask, have you rescheduled a bunch of dates, or is it still up in the air? I mean, I've seen so many other bands, they've like, okay, we're going to reschedule for this, and then they get canceled again. I was like, what's the point? I'd be afraid to schedule anything right now.
Yep. And that's kind of where we are. We've rescheduled once. We're going to reschedule again and hope that it works out better. We're looking at 2021 now. But the other thing you have to remember is that a lot of these venues have to go a full year or a year and a half or 2 years or whatever, paying the rent with no way to make any money. And some of them are owned by larger businesses, and those ones I think will be okay. But a lot of the ones that we play are independent, and I don't know that they're going to be there. So everyone is off of tour right now, which means that when they're able to, everyone will be ready to go. So we'll have twice as many people on tour and half as many venues for those people to play at. And it's going to be really difficult to, like I was saying, make sure that the routing goes in order, make sure that things are 6 hours apart, make sure that the economics make sense.
Yeah, if you think about it, so many bands are going to be clamoring to get a gig. It's going to be a severe log jam. I didn't even think of it from that point of view. I mean, that could be a serious issue.
Yeah, it's yeah. I hope that I'm wrong about that. My minor in college was economics, so that's the other thing I'm thinking about with this. But yeah, it's crazy to watch people argue if the concern over this is health or if it's economics, and it's both.
No, I think you're right. We're on Skype, ladies and gentlemen, with Dan Armbruster from Joywave. Now, we mentioned that the launch of Perseverance, and we don't have a definitive date yet. I think we will in the next couple of days. But are you going to be watching? I mean, are you going to check it out? I'm sure it'll be broadcast on NASA.gov or somewhere on TV.
I definitely will be watching. Any of the launches are really cool to see. I was lucky enough to see one of the space shuttle launches when I was a kid. My uncle in Florida. Yeah, my uncle in Florida had like a timeshare thing that was very big in the 90s, and he had one on Daytona Beach, and me and my dad went out one morning and were able to see it, and it was crazy. So cool. That's
awesome. So I think we're going to have a launch watching party at Dan's place in New York, if that's okay. We'll get together.
Everyone's invited. We have to ask Governor Cuomo first.
I'm sure he won't mind.
We will social distance, of course, and we'll brush it all be served at the big party.
Brush it all will absolutely be served.
Get the album Possession. You'll know what I'm talking about with Brush It Off. Dan, man, thank you so much for joining us today on Third Rock. It's been and continued success, and I can't wait for you guys to get out on the road and be able to perform Possession live, because it's really, really a strong album.
Thank you so much for having me. This is an honor. I feel like this conversation has been a long time in the making, and I'm glad we're able to talk space. Thank you. All right, thanks.